وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. We recite a loud salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Inshallah, the brothers and sisters are doing well. Tonight, inshallah, we'll continue with our topic. So, inshallah, as we promised you guys, we're going to do a little bit of what? Ahkam before we start. Before we start, the ruling that I mentioned last night, I just want to get a taste of where the brothers and sisters are in terms of their knowledge of Ahkam. How many of the brothers did not know the ruling that we mentioned yesterday? Anyone? You didn't know? Okay, good. Is that brothers? Okay, so then we'll take it a notch up, inshallah, hopefully. The ruling that we want to mention tonight is about the time of prayer. Okay, so if everyone knew the ruling that we mentioned yesterday, let me ask one of you guys to just mention it real quick. Any volunteers? Okay, good. Bismillah. What was the ruling we mentioned last night?
The Mass.
The Mass. Okay, what about the Mass? The Mass is a word. What about the Mass?
Well, it invalidates your wudu if your Mass touches the water on your face, because then you have to do your feet.
Okay.
As long as your hands are dry, then you can wipe some water off of your face. And then you do the wudu.
So, what is the problem if my hand touches my face? What exactly is the problem? You mentioned it, but I want to just make it more clear, yeah?
It invalidates the wudu because then, afterwards, you have to do your feet.
Ahsan. And when you're doing mass of your feet, you can't use water from your face. You have to use water that's already remaining on your hand. So that's the ruling. Unless your hands are dry, then you can get some water. So that's the ruling we mentioned last night. The ruling we want to mention tonight is this. There's an easy part to it, and then there's a bit of a more trickier part to it, okay? The easy part is this. When it comes to Maghrib and Isha prayer, the timing that we have for the prayer, when does the prayer become qada? Maghrib and Isha. This is an easy question. Anyone want to answer that easy question? Allah Hamid, do you want to answer the easy question? Doesn't look like it.
I pass.
Anyone else? Allah?
So I think
Yes.
we talk about the Zawad, inshallah. What is Zawad?
No, we're talking about Maghrib and Isha.
Okay. It's getting closer between the muntasaf, between the middle time between Fajr and Isha time.
Okay, Ahsant.
So it's around like 4 hours after Isha, or 5 hours after.
Okay, so the answer is your Maghrib and your Isha becomes qada when? It becomes qada at midnight, but not the midnight that we know of, which is 12 a.m. That's the midnight that we deal with here. You have a Shara'i midnight, right? How do you calculate the Shara'i midnight? It's the time between Maghrib and Fajr, roughly. So, the time that your Maghrib and Isha becomes qada, you can't really say exactly when it's going to be throughout the year, because your Maghrib and your Fajr is different throughout the year, right? Sometimes Maghrib is at 6, sometimes Maghrib is at 9, sometimes Fajr is at 5, sometimes it's at 6:30, right? So, the time between Maghrib and Fajr, when you divide it by 2, that's your Shari'i midnight. At that point is when your Salat of Maghrib and Isha is going to become qada. Okay. Now here's the point that a lot of people don't know. When I say a lot of people, I mean that includes myself before actually looking into this ruling. Let's say the Shari'i midnight is 11 o'clock, for example. Thank you. Let's say the Shari'i midnight is 11 o'clock. If 11 o'clock passes, that's it. My prayer becomes qada. I don't have to pray anymore. This is where a lot of people have a misunderstanding. If your prayer passes by the midnight, the Shari'i midnight, you still have to pray it before when? Before Fajr. One more time. If your Maghrib and Isha, for whatever reason, now sometimes it's on purpose, na'udhu billah, it's on purpose, sometimes you forget. Okay? For whatever reason, if you forget or you don't pray on purpose, when the time passes midnight, you still have to pray Maghrib and Isha before when? Before Fajr. And this makes things very difficult. Sometimes, like, you get home, you're very tired. It's like 12 o'clock. Like, I didn't pray Maghrib and Isha. And then you're like, oh, Alhamdulillah, it's past midnight. Sorry, you still have to pray it before Fajr. Now, the very important point is this. After midnight till Fajr, it depends how you're supposed to pray it in terms of your intention. Okay? So, Ayatollah Khamenei has one ruling, Ayatollah Sistani has a separate ruling. Okay. Ayatollah Khamenei, he says that if midnight passes and you didn't pray because you forgot, you pray with the intention of ma fi dhimma. Anyone heard of that term before? Ma fi dhimma? Ma fi dhimma basically means neither ada nor qada. Okay? As long as you have that in your mind and you pray with that intention, you're fine. Okay. So Ayatollah Khamenei says, midnight passes, you pray with what intention? Neither qada nor ada. Before Fajr, you have to pray with this intention. Both Maghrib and Isha, both of them. Ayatollah Sistani says, no. If you forget, you still pray with the intention of ada. Because you forgot. No, if you miss it on purpose, yes, you do qada. Right? But if you forgot to pray Maghrib and Isha, you do it with the intention of ada. It's still time for you to pray it before Fajr. Okay? Now, the details that I just mentioned, they might be a little tricky. Okay? So, if in case anyone didn't understand the ruling or the details, you can come to me after the talk, inshallah, and I'll explain them one more time. But the general idea, so we can wrap up this section, inshallah, is this: Allah, if you skip Maghrib and Isha for whatever reason, you still have a duty to pray them before Fajr. Please recite the salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Okay, so that was the ruling that we wanted to go through for Ahkam. Tonight's talk also has 4 sections, inshallah. And tonight, inshallah, we're going to move a bit quicker, okay, a bit faster, based on the feedback I got from last night, okay? So we're going to move on a bit faster, especially Brother Haydar. He was complaining very much. He said, I want all the knowledge that you have. So, okay, give you up. I'll give you all the knowledge I have. Okay. So, yesterday we talked about this idea. We said that the world that we live in, everything in it is limited. We said as human beings, on the other hand, we want what? Unlimited. Okay. And we said this is a contradiction. We talked about how the West solves this contradiction, and we talked about how Islam solves this contradiction. Okay. Tonight, to start our talk, inshallah, the first section is a hadith. Okay? It's a short story, actually, from Imam Ali salawatullahi alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
With one of his companions by the name of Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. Jabir is a very famous companion of the Ahlul Bayt. How many Imams did Jabir see? Does anyone know? In his lifetime?
4.
I think everybody at Muhammad Baqir.
Okay, so how many is that?
5.
Count. Okay. So 5 of the Imams. By the time, obviously, that he got to Imam Baqir, he was very, very old. Okay. So, in this particular case, it is during the time of the first Imam. The Imam says that one day I saw Jabir ibn Abdullah and he was very sad. وَنُقِلَ عَنْهُ أَنَّهُ رَأَى جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنه وَقَدْ تَنَفَّسَ السَّعْدَاء. Jabir ibn Abdullah took this really deep breath. You know, like sometimes when you're tired or you regret something, you're like, see, this is a sa'da. The Imam says this is what Jabir did. So, the Imam says, فَقَالَ يَا جابر على ما تنفسك What is this breath? Why is this deep breath that I feel you being sad and regretting? What's going on? أعلى الدنيا, is it because of things that happen in this world? So Jabir responds, فقال جابر نعم. Jabir said, yes, it's because of the things that are in this world. I'm not able to achieve them. The pleasures of this world, I'm not able to experience them. This guy has a better car than me. This guy has a better wife than me. This guy has a better house than me. This guy's... Right? He wants to have those stuff as well. So the Imam starts explaining the highest pleasures that you will find in this world. And when he comes to each one of these pleasures, he explains how every single one of them is very limited. The pleasures that we consider to be at the very top, every single one of them, he'll bring them down for you. He'll show you how every single one of these are limited. They're pleasure. It's a pleasure. There's no doubt about that. It's pleasurable, but they're limited and they're low. Okay. So the Imam starts. He says, "Ya Jabir, maladhu dunya sab'atun." The pleasures that you will find in this world are 7. There's 7. Of course, there are other pleasures, but these are the main ones. These are the ones that we can really relate to. So he starts. He says, the first one is al-ma'akul, what you eat. It's a huge pleasure. Oh, you turn on the television, Food Network. There's a whole network to show you how to have pleasure when you're eating food. Al-ma'akul. Wal-mashroob, when you're drinking liquids. Wal-malbus, and what you wear. So that's how many up till now? 3. Wal-mankuh, genders, intimacy. Wal-markoob, and what you ride. Right? Wal-mashmoom, and what you smell. Wal-masmuu', and what you hear. So that's altogether how many, Allah? 7. Okay. So the Imam starts to dissect each and every one of these pleasures. He says, okay, let's start with the first one. فَأَلَذُّ الْمَعْكُولَاتِ. He says, the first one is ma'kul, what you eat, right? That's a very important pleasure in our lives. He says, okay, go to the top, the very peak of this pleasure. Tell me what's at the very top. He says, فَأَلَذُّ الْمَعْكُولَاتِ. The most pleasurable of foods is what? Al-asal. Honey. You don't find sweeter than honey. Then he says, do you know what honey is? You know where honey comes from? Right? It's basically like something like the waste of what? Of the bee. You see how he takes it from the very peak and he brings it down, shows you how limited and how low it is. فَأَلَذُّ الْمَعْكُولَاتِ الْعَسَلِ وَهُوَ بَسَقٌ مِنْ ذُبَابَةٍ. It's the liquid that leaves the body of a fly, of an insect. Okay. Move on to the next one. وَأَحْلَى الْمَشْرُوبَاتِ الْمَاءِ. And the best of things that you can drink is water. Some of you are like, no, it's not water, it's Gatorade or something like that. No, أحلى المشروب. If you really want to understand why water is the best thing, if you're really, really thirsty, right? Sometimes if you really think about it, the one thing that you really want and will really take care of your thirst is what? It's water. All those sugary stuff, sometimes it doesn't take care of your thirst the way water takes care of your thirst. وَأَحْلَى الْمَشْرُوبَاتِ الْمَاءِ. And then see how the Imam brings it down. وَكَفَى بِإِبَاحَتِهِ. But water you can find everywhere. It's not even that special. You see? Taking it from the peak, showing you the limitedness of every single one of these pleasures. Next one. وَأَعْلَى الْمَلْبُسَاتِ. And the best of things that you can wear is ad-dibaj, which is silk. We all know where silk comes from. It's the spit. The saliva of what? Of the silkworm. وأعلى الملبوسات الديباج وهو من لعاب دودة. And it's from the spit of a worm. See how he brings it down? Then you don't consider it to be too cool anymore. And it's like silk. It's like, you don't even consider it to be that special anymore. وَأَعْلَى الْمَنْكُوحَاتِ النِّسَاء. And he goes on explaining that. I'm going to skip that for obvious reasons. وَأَعْلَى الْمَرْكُوبَاتِ الْخَيْلِ. And the best of the things that you can ride, al-khayl, which refers to horses. وَهُوَ قَوَاتِلِ. And the horses are killers. What does that mean? That means in certain situations, if you're not able to manage your horse, it can easily step on you and kill you. The one thing that you take pride in, I'm right, this is what I ride, it can kill you. So, can we relate to this with our own cars today? Of course we can relate to these with our own cars today. Right? Yes, Allah? Yes? Moving on to the next one. وَأَجَلُّ الْمَشْمُومَاتِ. And the best thing that you can smell. Can anyone guess what this one is? The best thing that you guys can smell. Itir. Yes, Allah. You're pointing like this. No, Allah? Yes, Abuzar. Flowers, you got close. But the strongest perfumes, okay, at least during that time, came from something called al-misk. Now everyone knows the answer, mashallah. Yeah, al-misk. And al-misk is what? It's this small thing, from what I remember, near the liver of a deer, if I'm not mistaken.
Ankle. The ankle of a deer.
The ankle? I'm sorry, the ankle. So, when you think about it, it's all bloody and it's ugly. If you Google it, you'll see. So, but it's the best thing you can smell, which is pleasurable, but at the same time it has this limitedness. It's limited. It has these flaws. So, وَأَجَلُّ الْمَشْمُومَاتِ الْمِسْكِ وَهُوَ دَمٌ مِنْ سُرَّةِ دَابَّةٍ وَأَجَلُّ الْمَسْمُوعَاتِ. And the best thing that you can hear, Allah, is al-ghina. What is al-ghina? It's the type of music that makes you forget about everything. Right? It takes you into that world of fantasies. MashaAllah. Sometimes you listen to music, and everything looks nice and happy and dandy. Right? Oh, what's the problem with that? وَهُوَ إِثْمٌ. And this is a sin, and you'll be punished for it. Then the Imam wraps it up. He says, فَمَا هَذِهِ صِفَتُهُ. Something that is like what I described. The pleasures that are like what I described. لَمْ يَتَنَفَّسْ عَلَيْهِ عَاقِلٌ. If you have a little bit of intellect, a little bit of understanding in your mind, you will never feel regretful for not achieving these pleasures. Because every one of these pleasures have so many flaws in and of themselves. You will never sit there and say, I wish I had smelled misk. I wish I had, drank water. Oh. Then Jabir continues. It says, قال Jabir ibn Abdullah, فوالله, after I heard this from the Imam, by Allah, ما خطرت الدنيا بعدها على قلبي. From that point on, this idea of me losing the pleasures of this world, it never even crossed my mind. Because I understood everything in this world is what, Allah? Limited. Okay, so this was the first part of our talk tonight. Please recite salawat. So, the first part was this hadith that we want to go through, in which the Imam explains every single one of these pleasures that we consider to be so high. He says, okay, take a look at them and you'll understand how limited they are. Okay. Second part, Allah. Second part is this. Based on what we said yesterday, we said that us as human beings, we want everything unlimited. We said that in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us what? Unlimited pleasure. Unlimited wealth, unlimited power, unlimited this, unlimited that. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for what? He created us for that unlimited pleasure. Okay. This is the purpose of our creation. Please pay attention. Please don't walk away with the wrong understanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for what? Unlimited pleasure. When you say this, right? If there's a brother, like Brother Haida, he holds his hand. Maulana, you made a mistake. What mistake did I make? Right? Maulana, since we were in Sunday school, they taught us. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا. We were not created for unlimited pleasure. We were created for what? To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what we're told. Right? That's what we're told from since, we're children. This is what we're told. You were created for what? To worship who? To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are you talking about, Maulana? You were created for unlimited pleasure and stuff like that. I remember one time I was talking about this topic, and then I mentioned this. I said, yeah, we're created for unlimited pleasure. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted for us, right? And then this couple came to me after the program, and then it was this couple, brother and sister, Iranian brother and sister. He said, Maulana, your talk was very nice, but what you said, it was very Jesus-y. I said, what do you mean very Jesus-y? He said, it's very Jesus-y. You made it sound like so nice and happy and dandy, like, yeah, we were created for all this pleasure and everything. I said, listen, don't worry, we'll get to the hard part. This is the easy part. We'll get to the hard part. How are you supposed to achieve that unlimited pleasure? We'll talk about that. That's where all the difficulty lies. Please recite the salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So, what are we supposed to do with this verse of the Quran? It doesn't become any clearer than this, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot make it any clearer than this. He says, listen, I did not create you and the jinn for anything except for liya'budun. Hope the answer is very clear. Does anyone know the answer? Let me see if you guys can pick up the answer. What's the answer? How is this verse compatible with what we were talking about? It's alright, you guys can guess if you want. No one? Okay. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. لِيَعْبُدُونَ is the prerequisite for you to reach that what? Unlimited pleasure. These are not going against each other. They're compatible with one another. Right? For example, if you want to go to a hotel and you want to sleep, right? Where do you go first? You go to the elevator. Someone asks you, where are you going? You say, I'm going to the elevator. You're lying. You're going upstairs to sleep. If I want to go upstairs to sleep, I have to go where? I have to go to the elevator first. This isn't wrong. No one can say, oh, you're going to the elevator, you're going upstairs. It's contradiction. Tanaqud. Doesn't make sense. Have you guys ever Googled Quranic contradictions online? Seen some of the contradictions? So some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. So, these two are compatible with one another. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has only created you for what? To worship Him. But because worshipping Him will bring you what? That unlimited pleasure. Not in this world. Not in this world. Where? In the next world. وَإِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانِ. Here is just a game. Here is lahwin, la'ib. In the next world, that is where we will reach that unlimited pleasure. Please recite the salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Okay, so up until now, we went through two main points. We went through the tradition, right? And we explained the purpose behind our creation. These 2 points. The third point that I want to make, which is the question that we asked last night. Khub Allah, Maulana, we accepted what you said. Huh? We were created for unlimited pleasure. Okay. Khub, why did He bring us here? Why didn't He just give us unlimited pleasure to begin with? Okay. You mentioned an answer to that last night. What was that answer?
To earn.
To earn it. But why do we have to earn it?
prove it to you.
Can he just give it to us?
Nothing just comes like that.
Prove it to you? He needs to prove things to us?
We need to prove it to him that we are deserving.
We need to prove it to him, but he already knows. Right?
No.
He doesn't know?
It's,
Oh, mashallah. So
I mean,
Allah
it's
subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't know.
no, I mean, it's predestined. You can still make the choices. He gave you that free will.
I know. That's exactly our question. Why? Why does he give you that freedom?
To see what choices you will make.
To see what choices you make. You're just going around in circles right now. Hope Allah, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. We were created for unlimited pleasure. The question is, why doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just give us that pleasure? The answer is this. He's already done that with other people. What do I mean by that? See, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has, let's say, 1 million creatures He has created. 1 million creatures. There are the animals, the human beings, there are the jinn, there are the angels, and some other stuff that we might not even know. With the angels, that's what He did. With the angels, what did He do? He gave them whatever they wanted. He's already done that with a group of people. Now for you, He wants to give you a different deal. He wants to do it a different way. The same way, for example, if you're painting a portrait, some parts you do black, right? Sometimes you do red, sometimes you do green, and then when you look at it, put it all together, it's like, mashallah, what a nice picture, right? You don't do the whole thing black, 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 black. Oh, mashallah, what kind of drawing is that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes He says, for some of my creatures, I will just give it to them. For other ones, I want the pleasure to be different. That's why I tell them to earn it. Okay? So the answer is this. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us to earn it? Because He has already given it to other creatures. For us, He wants to paint a different picture. Of course, the pleasure that we feel once we earn it is much higher than the pleasure of, let's say, an angel. But because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants different colors in His portraits, for some He will give it to them, for others He won't give it to them. He say, you have to earn it. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense, inshallah. If you guys understand that, please recite a loud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Okay. So, this was the third section. I'm moving, inshallah, in a sequence. Now that we understand these, there are two very important results that we can draw from what we talked about. Okay? Two very important results. The first result is this. Because you know that everything in this world is limited, you're not anxious all the time to gather all these pleasures in the world. You're not anxious about it. You know, even if I go there and I try that pleasure, I'm still not going to feel satisfied, right? Whereas in the Western culture, people, they open their eyes, they're like, oh my God, I have 50 years to live, I have to experience all the pleasures that I can. All the pleasures. For you, because you understand what we went through, you don't worry about that because you know this world doesn't have much to offer to you anyways. That's why, when you look at our ulama, that's why they're so calm. Some of our ulama, one of them I'm going to mention his story tonight, they are so calm. This guy is 18 years old, for example. He's young. 18 years old. At 18 years of age, there are so many pleasures for you. There's so many different things that you can do to have fun, to have a good time. See this guy, he sits in the library for days and days. Oh, go outside, go have fun, do this, do that. He says, listen, I know even if I go outside, I'm not going to be satisfied. So he's calm. He sits in the library for 10, 12 hours. One of these ulama was Allama Amini. Who's heard of Allama Amini? Raise your hand. Okay. Allama Amini was one of the great ulama. He wrote a book by the name of, what was his name of his book, Allah? Al-Ghadir. You guys heard the name of Al-Ghadir? Al-Ghadir. Al-Ghadir is a very thick book. Okay, it's a very thick book, and it's obviously about what? Obviously about Ghadir. It is one of the most important books that we have on this topic for a number of reasons. Inshallah, we'll talk about Al-Ghadir on a separate occasion. So, Al-Ghadir, now, keep in mind that if you want to compile a book like that, which is all coming from Sunni sources, all coming from Sunni sources. It's not like now where you sit in the library and you search, right? And you put together a paper or a dissertation or whatever. No, this guy had to travel for months, for years sometimes, to get a certain copy of a certain book written by a certain Sunni scholar so that he can put it in his book. My question is this, to you and to Allama Amini, for 30, 40, 50 years of your life you've been doing this. You don't think sometimes you should go out and have fun? He knows, even if he goes out there, there's not much going on out there. That's why he can sit in the library for 10 nights. That's why when his books on his way, on one of his trips, when his books fall into the water, right? He jumps into the water. The people on that the boat or the ship or whatever was going on, they were all worried. So where are you jumping? This person is not looking for pleasures. He knows the pleasures of this world will never satisfy him. He's here to take care of something and then go somewhere where real pleasure lies ahead of him. Allama Amini is just one of them. Another one of them is Allama Tabatabai, which is one of my favorites. Allama Tabatabai, the author of Al-Mizan. We, brothers and sisters, I'm just telling you this, inshallah, if we get a chance, we'll talk about it later on. Al-Mizan it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable book. Like, you won't hear me saying this word very often. Okay? Al-Mizan is unbelievable. When you look at the life of Allama Tabatabai, you see that he himself says, sometimes I wake up, I have something to eat, and then I go to my room, I start sitting and thinking and contemplating what? The verses of the Quran. And I do this for so long that I see I've fallen asleep. I get back up and I start thinking and contemplating again. And this is how his days go. Don't you have all this other fun that you're supposed to go after? No, Allah doesn't have to go after that fun. He knows this world doesn't have much to offer to him. That's why he can sit there for days and months in his room with peace of mind and do his studies. Why? It all comes back to this one principle of everything being limited here. Okay, so this is the first result or the conclusion that we draw from what we mentioned. Inshallah, the next one we're going to mention, please sallallahu salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
The second one, which is the more important one, and with that, inshallah, we will bring the talk to an end, is this. We said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for unlimited pleasure. Now that He has created you for unlimited pleasure, He has given you a map. He's told you how you're going to get to that unlimited pleasure. If you understand this, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, get up and pray in the morning, you don't see it as some king sitting there and saying, you have to get up 5 o'clock in the morning and you have to worship me. No. You understand that He's just showing you how to reach what? Unlimited pleasure. He's not a king sitting up there and saying, you have to worship me because I like it. Right? Like we say in Farsi, he's not because. Right? It's not like he has extra time on his hands like, oh yeah, let them just, worship me for now, I like it. Yes, He wants you to worship Him, but because it pushes you towards that unlimited pleasure. Let me give you an example and we'll end inshallah. Right? If you go to a doctor, the doctor will sit there and say, hey, don't smoke. Right? Like a lot of brothers don't agree with that doctor. But anyways, the doctor says, oh, don't smoke, you'll get cancer, right, in your lungs. So, if you walk out of the doctor's place, right, his office, and he sees you smoking outside, is he going to get mad at you? He's not going to get mad at you. He's not going to get mad at you. He's just going to sit there and say, hey, I'm just telling you how things work. This is how things work. This is your map. You want to live a healthy life? Don't smoke. You want to smoke? Okay, that's fine. The consequences are on you. It's the same thing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and us. He created us for unlimited pleasure. He's giving you and me a map. You sit there and say, no, I don't want to wake up for Fajr. Okay, don't wake up for Fajr. The consequences are on you. He's just showing you how to get to that unlimited pleasure. That's all He's doing. Okay, so there's a bit of a longer discussion here, but then we'll leave that inshallah for tomorrow night. Please recite salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Inshallah, we'll have a short musibah, and inshallah after that we'll continue with the program. These nights, the nights of Muharram, inshallah we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that our mourning for Abu Abdullah, our azadari for Abu Abdullah is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Imam himself. We should never underestimate the importance of coming to the majlis of Abu Abdullah. We should never underestimate the small things, even the smallest things that you and I do for Abu Abdullah. Sometimes the smallest things can have the biggest impact on us, inshallah, if the Imam shows us his grace and his mercy, inshallah. These nights, as the caravan of Imam al-Hussein has arrived in the plain of Karbala, there is one lady in this caravan who will be going through a lot of pain and a lot of agony within the next couple of nights. This is no one but Lady Zainab, salamullahi alayha. Lady Zainab, as she walks through the plain of Karbala, the heat, she can feel the heat from the sun walking through this desert. Lady Zainab has also heard of what is going to happen in the plain of Karbala. She already knows what is going to happen to her beloved brother. And there are many, many scenes in this story of Karbala where you see Zainab carrying the burden of the caravan, carrying the burden of the pain and agony and the difficulty of the caravan. One of these scenes is mentioned in a narration by a person of the name of Tamimi. This person says that on the day of Ashura, when I saw that after Imam al-Hussein was martyred and the caravan was being forced to leave the plain of Karbala, I could see that the women were passing by the bodies of the shuhada. One of these women, I could tell it was Zainab, the daughter of Fatima. Zainab, as she is passing by the bodies of the shuhada, she starts calling out, Wa Muhammadah, Wa Muhammadah, O Muhammad, O grandfather of ours, come to our help, come to our assistance. These are the bodies of your beloved. Hada Husaynun bil-Ara, this is Hussein on the desert, lying there without a kafan. Murammalun bid-dima, he's struggling in his own blood. Ya Muhammad, help us, take us back to the city of Medina. He says, as I saw Zainab passing by, she continued to cry, and the forces, the armies, were forcing them to leave. This is just one of the scenes where Lady Zainab, you can feel the pain and the agony of Lady Zainab salamullahi alayha. But one of the other scenes, brothers and sisters, where Zainab, it's very difficult for Zainab to see this, and it's very difficult for any of us who has children to see this, happens later on in the story of Karbala. Let's move from the plain of Karbala to Kufa, past Kufa all the way till the ruins of Sham. You know that the caravan of the Ahlul Bayt, when they came to the city of Sham, they were placed in the ruins of the city, the outskirts of the city. And the children, they kept asking the mothers and the sisters, where are our father? Where are our fathers? Where are our brothers? And Zainab and the other mothers in the caravan, they would reply that your fathers have gone on a trip. They couldn't tell these children that your fathers have been martyred, your brothers have been martyred. So Zainab puts everyone to sleep, and it's a dark night like the one that we are sitting in right now. And Zainab, for a second, she takes a breath of peace of mind, thinking that alhamdulillah, all the children have gone to sleep and they are not in pain anymore. They have been walking this whole day, alhamdulillah, now they are in peace. Then all of a sudden, one of the children of Abu Abdullah starts crying out, and she can't wait anymore. She wants to see her father. She's calling out the name of her father. Zainab doesn't know what to do to calm this child down. She walks to the child, she tells her, Ruqayya, please be quiet, the other children will wake up. This is not good for us in the ruins of Sham. But Ruqayya wants her father, Ruqayya wants to see her Baba. Ruqayya continues to cry and cry. Zainab is mutahayyir. Zainab doesn't know what to do at this point. She doesn't know how to calm this child anymore. The child has been walking for days. She wants to see her father. The army of Yazid hears the cry of Ruqayya. They tell Yazid, la'natullahi alayh. Yazid says, what is it? Just give her anything that she wants. So they say that she wants to see her father. They say, take the head of her father, let her see the head of her father so that she can calm down. The narration says, brothers and sisters, that they brought the head of Abu Abdullah to this child, this 3-year-old child who is crying, who cannot stay calm. They bring the head of Abu Abdullah, and this child starts to hold the head of Abu Abdullah and starting to talk to the head of Abu Abdullah. This continues, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is going through the heart of Zainab as she watches this child talk to her father. And Zainab doesn't know what to do. She's watching. All of a sudden, she sees that the night goes back into silence. It's as if this child has become calm now. The child is in peace now. Zainab, for a second, she thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, thank you that Ruqayya is calm now. Ruqayya isn't crying anymore. But Zainab doesn't know that in a second later she will find out that Ruqayya is calm, not because she is holding the head of her father, because she has left this world and she has gone closer to her father. Ala la'natullah ala al-qawm al-zalimin. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.
يا رب الحسين بحق الحسين كشف صدر الحسين بظهور الحجة بن الحسن العسكري دلم از خرابه دیگه خون امشب مزاحم شدم من برا ام زینب میسوزم من تو این تن صورت من کبوده و زرده حرف دلم گلایه و درده یه دختر شامی رو دیدم که رو سری منو سرش کرده یه دنیا درد دل دارم بابا از اون شب سرد توی صحرا موی سرم سپیده و قدم شده شبیه مادرت زهرا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین حسین. Let us continue where we left last night when we were talking about the masa'ib that Ahl al-Bayt experienced after Karbala all the way to Sham. حتى دخلنا دمشق ورأس الحسين بينهن على رمحه. The caravan of Ahl al-Bayt entered the city of Sham. So much happened to them. All the disrespectful acts that happen, you can put them on one side, and something specifically, if you look at the maqtab, that really burns the hearts. What is that? ووقف أهل الذمة لهن في سوق دمشق يبصقون في وجوههن. When they entered the Bazaar Sham, there was a group of people that were lined up. When they saw the children of Hussein, when they saw the women and Ahl Bayt Hussein, they started to spit on the faces of children and women. These are the children and women of the Ahl Bayt of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. حتى وقفنا بباب يزيد فأمر برأس الحسين عليه السلام فنصب على الباب وجميع حرمه حوله ووكل به الحرس وقال إذا بكت منهن باكية فالطموها. Finally, when they got to the palace of Yazid, this mal'oon, Yazid la'natullah alayhi ordered to place the head of Imam al-Hussein on top of the door, right in front of the eyes of the children and women of Ahlul Bayt. But he didn't stop there. His second order was to a soldier. He said, if any one of them cries, this is what the Maqtab says, these are not things that we're making up, this is history. That's why I'm reading you the Arabic. If any one of them cries, hit them hard. وإن أم كلثوم رفعت رأسها But this time Kulthum raised her head. فرأت رأس الحسين عليه السلام فبكى. When she saw the head of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, she began to cry loudly. وقالت يا جداه تريد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله هذا رأس حبيبك الحسين مصلوب. وبكت Kulthum cried and said, Ya Rasulullah, this head that has been placed on this door is the head of your beloved Hussein alayhi salam. فرفع يده بعض الحرس. One of the soldiers raised his hand. وَمَطَمَهَا لَتْمَةً حَسَرَ وَجْهَهُ. And he slapped Kulthum so hard, the Makhtal said, it damaged her entire face. What I want to say is this, before maybe even I get there. If a slapping did this to the face of an older lady, a mature lady, imagine what the slapping did to the face of a 3-year-old. When I say the word slapping, I know the mind of the Sadat sitting here goes somewhere else. It goes to the city of Medina. In the city of Medina, someone else was slapped. Hazrat Fatima Zahra, Salamullahi alayha. But there is a difference. Hazrat Fatima was slapped twice. One time at her door, one time in the street. But this little girl of Imam Hussein was slapped in Karbala, was slapped in Kufa, was slapped from Kufa to Shah, was slapped in Shah. I know of 2 Alis, 2 people named Ali, that saw with their own eyes, right in front of their faces, their women were being disrespected. The first one was Ali Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. The second one was Imam Ali as-Sajjad alayhi salam. But again, there's a difference. They only disrespected the wife of Imam Ali in front of him, but for Imam Sajjad they disrespected and hit his wife, his sisters, his auntie Zainab Salamullahi alayha. They tied the hands of Amir al-Mu'mineen with a rope. That's all it was. But if you look at Imam Ali as-Sajjad and Shah, you would see chains on his hands. You would see chains filled with blood on his feet. You would see chains on the neck of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Let me say a few words in Farsi, and then inshallah I will. As Maulana said, let me take you back to the dungeon, to the kharaba, to the ruins of Sham, when this little girl woke up and said, Aina Abi, where is my father? And what these people did, they brought the head, as Maulana said. فقالت ما هذا الرأس برسيد سركيست فقالوا لها رأس أبيك گفتند سر پدرته فرفعته من الطشت حاضنة له با اون دستای کوچیکش لرزان دستاش میلرزید. این سر بابا رو بلند کرد به سینه چسبان و هی تقول یا ابا من ذا الذی خضبک بدمائک. بابا چه کسی تو را به خون آغشته کرد؟ یا ابتا من ذا الذی قطع وریدک. بابا چه کسی رکای گلو تو برید؟ بابا یا ابتا من ذا الذی ایتمنی علی صغر سنی. بابا چه کسی تو خردسالی منو یتیمم کرده؟ بابا جان دختر یتیم تو به چه کسی پناه ببره؟ بابا زنان بی پوشش هستن چه کار کنن؟ بابا زنا اسیر و سرگردان هستن کجا برن؟ یا ابتا من للنساء الحاسرات من للآمن المسبيات من للعيون الباكيات من للضائعات القريبات من للشعور المنشآت. يا أبتا من بعدك وخيبتنا من بعدك وغربتنا. يا أبتا لیتنی کنت الفدا. بابا جان کاشکی من میمردم و این لحظه رو نمیدیدم. بابا جان کاشکی من کور بودم و سر تو رو به خون آغشته نمیدیدم. هی گفت ثم انها وضعت فمها علی فمه الشریف. دیدم این رقیه خانم لبای نازنینش رو گذاشت رو لبای نازنین باباش و بکت بکاء شدیدا. هی شروع کرد بلند گریه کردن. حتی خشی علینا. دیدم یهو این بچه دیگه صدا نمی کنه دیگه گریه نمی کنه. فلما حرکوها دیدم دیگه حتی تکونم نمیخوره. یه وقتی زینب سلام الله علیها رسید که دیگه دیر شده بود. فاذا بها قد فارغت روحها دنیا. حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
يا حسين. عن لسان السيدة زينب سلام الله عليها تقول عساني عساني الكربل يا حسين مايت ولا اشوفك على التربان يا ابن امي. عساني الكربلة يا حسين مايت ولا اشوفك على التربان ميت مثل دمك دموع العين هي مثل دمك دموع العين مايت، ومثل نحرك مصاب قطعت بي. أريد أوصلكم عن أحد الرواة يقول عندما فارقت رقية سلام الله عليها روحها الطاهرة وشدة المصاب الذي وقع على زينب سلام الله عليها، اتجهت إلى النجف ونادت أبا الغوث أغثني، أبا يا علي أغثني. بهاي الأثناء تشوف فارس تقدم عليها، فتقول السيدة زينب سلام الله عليها يا سواداس شمري عنا، ما عندنا ما يطمع به الطامع. ثم يأتيها الرد ويقول أنا أبوك علي، هذا اللي يحاكيك اللي يحاكيك يا زينب للحراسة جيتي ليك، تقلبوي علي أنا جلجل الليل، والله الليل جلجل الليل وقاعدة وحرمنا ويل يا ويل. تقول يولي يولي سبون وصوتهم بالمتين، سبون وصوتهم بالمتين يولي وغريبة بلا أهل ظليت، خويا عباس غريبة بلا لا لا لا، غريبة بلا أهل ظليت، لو إلي أهل طبقة وسماها على الوطية خويا. تقول أنا الزهرة وجيت بنوح وانشيد ومواويل الحزن يا حسين، اي وانشيد صدق زينب مشت للشام وانشد جبهة بحبل ظله مال مي. رحم الله من ذكر القائم من آل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا حسين 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 يا حسين
يا الله
يا حسين يا حسين
يا ريح الهاب وياك وديني أزور أحباب غياب عن عيني، يا ريح الهاب وياك وديني أزور أحباب غياب عن عيني، سفرهم طال